I have this really weird theory that there is only so much fun you can experience at any given time, and the only thing that changes is the source of the fun. Kind of like different tastes, like people who like pineapple on pizza and those who like their food to actually be delicious. I'm kidding. Believe it or not, I'm one of those pineapple on pizza kind of people. I bring this up because society is engineered to push us to want and acquire the latest and greatest, even if the difference between what we have and what is new is almost undetectable. Personally speaking, I have been guilty of this. Buying the latest and greatest and being disappointed when it just meets my expectations instead of exceeding them. I know what you're thinking, Danny, how could you be disappointed if it meets your expectations? Well, when I'm putting my wallet into a coma to get the newest thing, I want to be blown away like a helium balloon in the Scottish Highlands. We also need to keep in mind that my expectations are being shaped by everything that's come before. So if the previous generation was on the edge of changing things for the worse, I could kind of see where things were going. But I, like many of you, held out hope that things would come back around and the next generation would recapture exactly what made gaming so darn good in the first place. So, what has this got to do with the Xbox 360? Well, let me tell you.
Let's see how good you truly are. What are all the games featured in this video?
Time for an experiment. How much do you think I paid for my Xbox 360? I mean, like, look at it, it still has the sticker on the front and everything. Well, with the controller, I only paid $25, $25 Australian, which to me that's just cheap. Right now you can pick up games in large bundles for, $25 to $50, as you can see here. I can safely say that for $50 to $100 you can get yourself the console and a collection of games and hundreds of hours of gameplay fun. For argument's sake, let's just say I've spent $100. Time to compare apples with really old apples. Used Xbox Series X consoles are going for around $500 to $600 with some games. Let's just say you'd pick it up these days for $500, and again that's Australian. Now I have an Xbox Series X and it's currently sitting atop my PC gathering dust like the true weapon it is, while my Xbox 360 sits on the entertainment unit. My wife and I sat down with the console for a while the other night, and in the results of my experiment, I discovered something weird. The Xbox 360 makes too much sense right now. Let me explain.
It would be in your best interest to hit the subscribe button.
Now, I hadn't played an Xbox 360 in ages, and there was so much I'd forgotten. I didn't realise that being connected to the internet wasn't enough for any game to update. So after a while I figured out I needed to sign into my Xbox Live account, and then game patches were being downloaded in seconds. Seconds! That being said, I was playing games prior to patching them, so the games were all there on the disc. Some of the games here didn't even need an update. Like, I promise you, I formatted the beastly 250GB hard drive and started fresh, and we were playing games in no time. We were playing games sooner than we were with the PlayStation 3. Another insane feature was the option to install games onto the hard drive for faster load times. It wasn't a requirement or anything, just a nice to have. Very nice, indeed. To be honest, I had primarily concerned myself with capturing footage for this very video, and I didn't foresee the fun that was about to occur. In the midst of capturing this Fable 2 gameplay, my wife asked for a turn. That turn ended up being past the controller for a while, and we returned to playing it after I was done filming. The fact that we were playing it on an Xbox 360 didn't even come into it. The graphics were actually pretty bloody good, and there was a level of charm in that game I seldom find these days. It was incredibly stylized and somewhat unrealistic, and that's a good thing. Separating itself from reality is what takes us out of reality when we play the game in the first place. A misguided idea that as things go on, they have to become bigger and bolder and push the limits further in the areas that matter least, maybe. An example could be most movies coming out these days. They're repurposed properties from the past and they're ruined because they're being made bigger or darker. It seems like a going trend right now to take something we love and then turn it on its side. And maybe the same can be said for the gaming industry as a whole these days. There seems to be so many less games advertised to us as being nothing but fun. Sure, there are games out there that are cinematic and they deserve to be amazing, but it seems so many developers are following this trend and leaving behind what made their games so awesome in the first place. Actually, please let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make videos talking about movies from the past and now. Given that the Xbox Series X exists and the incredible backwards capability that it possesses, I did wonder whether there was even a purpose for having an Xbox 360. I was aware that there were some games that are not backward compatible, but to my surprise there are a significant amount of games that are not backwards compatible. Out of all the games playing here, only 2 of them are backwards compatible. And just so I can say it one more time, backwards compatible. I mentioned the graphics in Fable 2 before, but honestly I could say the same for the other games we played too. I mean, like, holy crap, look at this! Forza wasn't quite as clean looking as Gran Turismo 5, but that didn't bother me at all. I will say one thing that kind of annoys me though. It's this thing where racing games start by forcing you to race in a car you might get later on. It's a personal gripe. I'll dive deeper into my thoughts in racing games in another video. I have to mention how good the games felt to play, like literally. The Xbox 360 controller is truly awesome. I'd always been a PlayStation lover growing up, but boy, this thing is the bee's knees. The curvature of the triggers and the way it shapes to my hands is another level of satisfaction. I mean, this is the reason all racing games use triggers, not buttons for acceleration and brake these days. When I played Resistance on the PS3, I had to get used to the shoot button being R1 on a controller shipped with triggers. By the way, thank you all for the support on that video. I'll put the link to it in the description down below if you want to check it out after this one. But how exactly does the Xbox 360 make too much sense now? Well, let's face it. For $100, I've got hours of great gaming here. I don't have to walk away from the console to wait for games to update. And if I have an internet outage, I can still put something in and play it. It goes so much deeper than that though. For $500, I could get myself an Xbox Series X and have just as much fun, maybe more. But 5 times as much? I don't know. It begs the question, why do we want the next big thing? Why is it some of us have this powerful desire for the preconceived best thing on the market, when it's very reasonable to assume there's just as much fun to be had for significantly less? There was a time in my life when I was young and still going to school. I remember this one kid getting made fun of for having a Super Nintendo, but not a Nintendo 64 like the other kids did. Not everyone has the means to upgrade or update, and when resources are limited, the value of what you have increases significantly. So with all that being said, I don't think there's any shame whatsoever in just sticking to a console 2 or 3 generations old and enjoying what it has to offer. I did state in another video of mine, there are more games in the past than I'll be able to play in the life I have left in me on this earth. So, from one person falling in love with things from the past and games from the past to another, do not ever feel bad about playing something old. I know exactly what it's like when you have friends that get the latest and greatest thing, and it's cool when you share that. But also, personally, I find it a little hard to talk about how much fun I'm having with the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 or the PS2 or PS1 emulators, because my friends, their mindset's different. And I think that's why maybe this community is working so well and why everybody's jumping on board and talking to me and talking to each other. Man, this is awesome. You guys rock. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Put down in the comments down below if you managed to guess every game I featured in the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please take the time to subscribe. Only if you enjoyed the content though. Thank you very much guys. Take care. Be safe. Bye.